Local presentation of Read About It is made possible in part by a grant from Cox Communications of Oklahoma City, proud sponsor of this effort to promote reading, education, and literacy in our community.
How the West became the Wild West will be the topic on Read About It tonight. Hi, I'm BJ Williams. With me is Holly George Warren, the author of Cowboy. Susie Beasley will be talking with Phil Talbert. Kids Corner will feature Rosemary Zarsky. We also have Doug Benton, Clyde Martin, and Scott Carter. Coming up, Holly George Warren.
The following public service program is brought to you by the Metropolitan Library System. And now, Read About It, with your host, BJ Williams.
Holly George Warren is a writer, editor, and producer, as well as a music consultant. How the West Was Worn is the definitive account of cowboy western wear. She has written for Rolling Stone, the New York Times, and Village Voice, Journal of Country Music, the Oxford American, Country Music, and Mojo, among other books and publications. She's here today to tell us about her latest book, which is called Cowboy, How Hollywood Invented the Wild West. So we're really going to learn how a bunch of hardworking, low-paid guys suddenly became glamorous heroes, right?
Quite the story, it is. Very funny.
You start out, I thought, very nicely with a very quick overview of the actual history of cowboys, which isn't what most of us think about if we think of John Wayne in Red River or James Stewart in one of his great roles. Either.
Right. Yeah, you pegged it when you said they were hardworking, dirty. You know, it was actually a very non-glamorous job, but thanks to Hollywood and our pop culture, it turned these knights of the plains into knights in dashing armor rather than dirty clothes and not able to bathe for 3 months while they were on the Chisholm Trail and all that kind of thing. So the movies were able to take the stories and bring them up a notch as far as their heroics go. A lot of the things in the movies really rarely happened to the real working cowboy on the Chisholm Trail. I mean, there weren't that many confrontations with Indians. There weren't that many fights with bad guys, I mean, they hardly even saw women, so they didn't really rescue that many damsels in distress. They did occasionally get a little rowdy when they reached Abilene and got in and got their pay and got cleaned up and got the new clothes and all that. So there was some truth to that. But the actual, I can't think of the exact numbers, but the numbers of people killed in gunfights was really quite low.
1.5 in Kansas, I think you mentioned in your book.
During the peak of the trail drives. So.
Which is considerably fewer than got shot in one Western, right?
Exactly.
What got you interested in cowboys in the first place?
Well, fortunately for me, growing up in a small town in North Carolina, I was born in the late 50s, so I just got the tail end of some of the great early westerns on TV and the films that were shown as reruns on TV. And I mean, I remember being a kid and like, oh, Mommy, I'm too sick to go to school. Can I just lie on the couch and watch cowboy movies? You know. And I had 2 brothers, and we loved to dress up and play cowboys. We had the little, red flyer wagon. We put the Conestoga top on, and I always dressed in cowgirl outfits. I just loved it, and all through my life, I've just been fascinated. I think it's the adventure of the West, and I've always been kind of an independent gal. So even the women, the cowgirls like Dale Evans and Gail Davis, who played Annie Oakley, they presented a really strong image for girls, young girls growing up, of these women who could ride and shoot and, have adventures. And being a little girl in the small town where there wasn't that much going on, that was a real big allure to me.
And when you sat down to write this particular book, did you have to do a lot of research, or was this knowledge that you had accumulated in previous writing?
Well, it's funny you should ask, because when I was actually contacted by a British packager who wanted to do the book, and they knew of my interest in the West, and they knew about my previous book, How the West Was Worn, which was a history of Western costume. And I'd interviewed Gene Autry and Dale Evans, and I'd had some really great experiences, and I thought, oh yeah, I can do this. I really didn't know how little I knew about the history of the Western film, because we're coming up on its 100th anniversary. It's a huge topic. So I basically just kind of lived, breathed, ate, and drank Westerns for several months. I did have a pretty good, strong, background doing research on these other projects, and I had a pretty good film library and a good library of books. But then, thanks to the public library, and I went to some Western festivals and did, research and tracked down more videos. I was out in California at the Autry Museum of Western Heritage, and Los Angeles has a fabulous research library, and that's where I got some information about like the black cowboy films and things that are kind of hard to come by.
Yeah, I think most of us have seen really only Westerns that are were made in the 40s, 50s, sort of the tail end of it. I don't think that many people today have actually read Zane Grey, which at least gave you a more ethnically diverse idea of the West than one gets today. So there are a lot of little things in here that most of us had, if you've only seen John Wayne, you had no idea.
Right, it's fascinating. And also just how incredibly popular Western novels were back, in the early part of the 20th century. Zane Grey, Owen Wister's The Virginian. I mean, these were so hugely popular. And of course, The Virginian, I think, has been made into 3 or 4 different movies. Even just recently, there was a new version, a made-for-TV, I think on TNN or TNT, of The Virginian that was quite good. So, they really do hold up over the years. I reread The Virginian and some of the Zane Grey as I was doing research for the book, and they're very good reads as far as the description of the West goes.
Yeah. Well, I confess, I've read The Virginian and Zane Grey and a lot of Louis L'Amour, so I have a little bit of a background in it. And I remember watching the cowboy movies on TV as well. In fact, I think I almost thought I was growing up in the cowboy era.
Yeah.
There were so many of them. But as you mentioned in here, this is something that is really pretty much died out. The occasional Western shows up, and if it's a good movie, it's a great hit, but it's not the standard. What did they used to call them? The odors?
Right,
There's
odors.
no standard odor that comes out every week.
Right. Well, I'm, being a big fan, I'm hoping that, I think there is a chance that they could come back. It'll probably never be as completely populous on the airwaves as it was at one time in the 40s and the 50s, but the Westerns channel, which is a cable channel, has proved to be quite popular, and I've talked to people there, and their viewership is really skewing much younger than they thought it would. They thought it would be mostly appealing to people who grew up with Westerns, but they're actually reaching a whole new generation of people that didn't have the TV shows to watch, because, in the 80s and 90s, there weren't that many on TV. I know my own son, who is going to be 5 in January, he's gotten to watch Hoppy and Roy and Gene, with me as I was doing research, and he loves them. And he grew up, his early years have been seeing Toy Story, the Disney film, and Toy Story 2, where Woody and Jessie are these great cowboy and cowgirl figures, and he loves them. So he likes to play cowboys and dress up as a cowboy. So I'm hoping that this new generation that's coming along will develop an interest in the Western, and there'll be a whole new slew of movies being made coming up in the years down the road.
And for those of us who are nostalgic and maybe don't catch the Western Channel as often as we want, we can still look up Cowboy and go back and revisit some old favorites and enjoy what I appreciated was your tying that there were some actual cowboys who did make movies people that, but they tended to exaggerate their own deeds a little bit, didn't they?
Yes, they did. And some of them wrote, their own dime novels, and they just kind of bought into the whole thing. And in fact, what's really funny is that by the real working cowboys watching these movies, they ended up changing the way they dressed to look more like the cowboy movies, the guys in the actual movies. So it really actually affected the way the real working cowboys looked and acted, and they kind of tried to live up to the bravado and things like that on the screen a little bit. So it's one of those weird situations of kind of reality and fantasy going in this circle and blending together.
Right. Well, I want to thank you very much, Holly, for being with us today.
Well, thank you so much for having me, and I'm glad you liked the book.
Thank you. We've had with us today Holly George Warren. She's been telling us about her book Cowboy, which you can find at your library and your favorite bookstore. Coming up, we have Susie Beasley. She'll be talking with Phil Talbert about a video for everybody in the family.
Phil, tell us a little bit about the video, Families of Puerto Rico.
Well, this video is part of a large series of videos on different places in the world, and it is actually narrated by two children. One is 8 years old, the other one is 9 years old, and they are very good about giving you an overview of life that they live in their part of the world each day. They just start at the very moment when they get up in the morning, and then they take you through all their experiences in going to school and going to the store, daily activities, all the way through the end of the day. When they get home, they have supper, they do their homework, they have their parents with them to do their homework with them, and to sign the paper that they've actually looked with their child at the homework. I thought that was really interesting how they did that.
And this is part of that Families of the World
series. We have quite a few. There's one on Thailand, Japan, China, Korea, Israel, and other places too. Mexico, of course, as well. So we've got.
So how might this video be utilized for our members of the public?
Well,
customers?
This is really not licensed for public performance. However, I think it would be a good thing for a student to use at home if they were going to do a preparation for a class assignment on culture
report
in a different culture and that sort of thing. And it's a good opportunity to learn about culture and to see how we share likenesses and differences, our differences as in our foods and things that we eat
but
and things that
still
we
going
do.
through the same process.
Yeah, we're just all human beings, but just live a little differently and adapt to our climates and things like that differently.
So what other things are in the library system relating to the different cultures, and what do we do as far as programming?
Well, we've got a lot of materials, both in print and non-print form. Lots of things in our reference collection that are always available in the library, so that if students need to come in and get materials on different cultures, they have access to them.
Right.
Then we have lots of videos as well in the library system that they can also use to get information on different
And
cultures.
also we have programs that from different cultures,
Different
whether
cultures.
they are Irish dancers or
Yes.
Irish folk band.
China, Vietnam,
Vietnam.
Mexico types of things, all cultures.
Right, from Venezuela,
Yes. Oh, yes.
Brazil.
Yes,
Different,
and the library system is also doing something now, I think, that will also help to educate the children and parents as well and get them into libraries and utilizing libraries. It's our Family Place programs that we're doing, and I think that that will also stir families to know more about the library and what it has to offer them.
Right,
So,
and then of course other cultures and parenting
Yes.
in other cultures.
correct,
Yes.
absolutely.
And you all are starting a family place at your library,
At Capitol Hill in September, we
Okay.
certainly are.
Well, Phil, we certainly appreciate you coming and sharing with us the Families of the World series, Families of Puerto Rico. This is part of a video series, and it is available at your local library and perhaps your local video store. And we'll see you next time. Thank you, Phil.
Thank you.
When you read to your child for just 15 minutes a day, you're doing so much more than just reading. You're building a bond that lasts a lifetime. Hi, I'm Elisa Johnson with the Metropolitan Library Commission, and I urge you to read to your children. Not only will they learn to love to read, but they'll be a better student. Our children's librarian will help you find just the right book. The next time your child hands you a book, take the time to read. You'll both be glad you did.
With me now is Scott Carter. He's Director of Public Relations for the Metropolitan Library System, and he's here to tell us about something really exciting. We tried this last fall, and it was so successful that we're doing it again this year, and it's a great deal for everybody, especially people like me who always bring their books back late, right?
You mean you have a library find?
Yes, I have a library find.
BJ, this year we're doing what's called Food for Fines again, and it's a partnership with the Oklahoma City Food Bank. Happens every fall, where a customer can bring in a can of food, and if they have a library find, we'll waive it, and we collect the food for the food bank, and it's donated to them.
And actually, if you don't have a find, you can bring in food.
That's
right?
correct. Last year we had a number of customers who just supported the food bank, and they would bring in bags of food and say, yeah, for the next poor guy that has a find, take care of that, but here's some food. Happens October 21st, the week of October 21st. It lasts for a week. And I think we generated about 9,000 pounds of food for the food bank last year.
Wow, that's quite a bit. And I know that the demands on the food bank have increased.
Yeah, as
quite a
the
bit.
economy slows down and as things get more difficult, more people need those resources. And it's the library's way of being able to help out. We really enjoy it. It's fun. We kind of make a game out of it throughout the week. This year we're trying to find the customer with the largest find so we can
insist that they bring a whole turkey, huh?
you know, back up the truck and unload all you can.
Right. But there's no correlation between the amount of the fine and the
No,
the amount
you
of
can
food.
bring in one can and it'll waive. If you've got a $100 fine, we'll waive it. We're not big sticklers about that, and it's just we want to get food in for the food bank.
Okay, that sounds great. Now we'll have posters up,
There'll be posters and there'll be advertising and things like that out when it starts.
and you can always ask your cert clerk when it's going to
That's
start.
correct. Or you can
so-
go to www.metrolibrary.org and the information will be posted there and in the library's magazine, Metro Library Magazine.
Okay, that sounds great. And actually, if you bring in food, even if you miss that week, don't we collect a little?
Yeah,
bit
we
longer
collect a
than that?
little. We collect usually a week before and a week after, just to give the stragglers and people who didn't have a chance to come in one more chance.
Okay, so we just need to remember in mid to late October we need to start bringing food to the library.
That's right. Bring food to the library, or wait till you don't pay your fine until then. I don't care. But come down and see us.
Okay, I want to thank you very much, Scott, for being with us and telling us about Food for Fives.
Thanks, BJ.
And coming up next, we have Kids Corner. Kelly Rhea will be talking with Rosemary Zarsky about a book for our young adults.
Hi, Rosemary Zarsky from the Choctaw Library has brought The Kingfisher's Gift. It's a wonderful book. Rosemary, tell us about it. And
Okay.
start at the beginning.
The beginning is a picture of Franny leaving her grandparents and her mother with her hands bandaged and carrying a basket that if you look in it, is empty. Going to her other grandmother, her father's mother, to spend the summer because her mother's broken down from the death of her husband and from the relationship she and her daughter currently have. But the story is interlaced with a second story, the story of some fairies who have fought many issues and braved many battles. But they had a child who's a changeling because the trolls had come in and switched children with and gave them a water sprite baby.
Oh my, so there's fantasy woven in.
Right, and you know, a lot of the adults that she's dealing with think that she's too much in Fantasyland, and she should leave Fantasyland. But of course, right now, that's what's keeping her sane.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's helping her deal with losing her father, who was her favorite parent.
A lot of times when you have a lot of grief, things that you need to work through, that's just a way to keep your sanity. And so that's what she does.
That's what she does. And the Kingfisher's Gift is brought out pretty early in the story because that's one of the stories her father told her about these fairies, and what he was basically doing was telling things that he had seen or they had told him.
So there's the value of an oral histories.
Right. And the Kingfisher's Gift was a feather that would have changed their changeling and given it the ability to fly. But the trolls had taken it away using this fish that you see on the cover. And so, you know, it's a fascinating fantasy story inside this story.
It's moving, it's fast moving, isn't it?
Yes, very fast moving, and many issues that face young women today, but even more so back when it takes place, which is probably early 1900s, such as unwed pregnancies. Also have a part actually in healing Franny.
Oh, good.
And so all comes well, but I'll have to let you read it to find out how.
Good thinking. You can find The Kingfisher's Gift at your local library or at your favorite bookstore.
Thanks, Kelly and Rosemary. It's time now for the bestsellers from the New York Times. We'll start out with hardback fiction. Number 10 on the list is Celebrate Through Heart Songs, written and illustrated by Maddie Stepanek. The Grave Maurice by Martha Grimes. The Beach House by James Patterson and Peter DeYoung. The Nanny Diaries by Emma McLaughlin and Nicola Krauss. The Voyage of the Gerald Shannara Morgwar by Terry Brooks. Standing in the Rainbow by Fannie Flagg. Mission Compromised by Oliver North with Joe Musser. Dark Horse by Tammy Hogue. Tom Clancy's Red Rabbit is number 2, and The Lovely Bones by Alice Sebold is number 1. On the nonfiction list, number 10 is Breakdown by Bill Gertz, A Mind at a Time by Mel Levine, Ann Coulter's Slander, The Cell by John Miller and Michael Stone, Above Hallowed Ground by photographers of the New York City Police Department, What We Saw by CBS News, Among the Heroes by Jerry Longman, Let Freedom Ring by Sean Hannity, Thomas Friedman's Longitudes and Attitudes is number 2, and Let's Roll by Lisa Beamer with Ken Abraham is number 1. On the children's list, number 10 is Tagarung by Brian Jacques, Meet Kaya by Janet Shaw, Holes by Louis Sekar, Good Morning Gorillas by Mary Pope Osborne, the all-new Captain Underpants Extra Crunchy Book of Fun 2 by Dav Pilkey, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone by J.K. Rowling, Junie B., First Grader at Last by Barbara Park, Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. Number 2 is Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, and number 1 is Rowling's Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. Coming up next, we have Doug Benton from the Metropolitan Library System and the Oklahoma Gazette. He'll be talking with Clyde Martin, that renowned radio opera host, about a book I'm sure we'll all enjoy.
Hi, everybody. I'm here once again with my friend Clyde Martin. Clyde, welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
What have you got to talk to us about today?
Guess what?
Let me see. It's got to be either movies or football, your two favorite subjects.
Sure. Yeah. Well, no. It's about opera.
Opera.
Because the opera season's about to begin. Mm-hmm. And the opera season means the Met to most people. Mm-hmm. And there is a book I've been sort of holding back on. It came out last year, just before Christmas, called Moto Agitato. Roughly agitation. And that's
Sounds like the Met.
That's the Met. It is written by Joanna Fiedler, who is the daughter of Arthur Fiedler.
Arthur Fiedler,
yes.
right.
And she was the press representative of the Met for 15 years. Mm-hmm. So she had access to the archives and all the papers and the contracts and a lot of the dirt.
If they had known that she was going to write this book, she probably wouldn't have had access to some of this stuff.
For me, the most interesting part of the book is the early part. Mm-hmm. Because maybe it's because I know so much of what's happened in the last few years, mm-hmm. but the early part is about the organization of the Metropolitan Opera and the building of the Metropolitan Opera House, the old Met,
the
at
original
39th and Broadway in New York. The way this came about was some of the socialites of the time found that they were not permitted to have boxes at the Academy of Music, which was the musical and social place in New York. And this included people like Vanderbilts, Morgans,
Mm-hmm.
Everybody like that, including Roosevelt's. So they decided to build their own opera house.
Yeah. Now, when was this?
This was it opened in 1883. This was the Gilded Age that Edith Wharton writes about. And so anyway, they built the Met so they could have boxes. They didn't care anything about the music, you understand.
You tolerate the music to be seen.
It was strictly a social thing for them. Mm-hmm. What they didn't count on was that there were actually people who came to hear the music. And sometimes they were really far more interested and vociferously enthusiastic about what was going on stage than the people were in the boxes, because all they were there for was to entertain. Mm-hmm. Well, of course, as time went on, things changed. And by the time we got to the Depression, things are really beginning to change. Because then even these people in the boxes had been hurt by the stock market crash and by the Depression. They needed these other people, these groundlings, to help support the opera. So then the book goes on then up to the more recent times with James Levine as the artistic director, and of course a lot of it covers the Rudolph Bing era in the 1950s to his retirement in the 1970s.
Sounds fascinating, but we're going to have to stop. It's Molto Agitato by Joanna Fiedler. Thank you for bringing it to our attention. Thank all of you. We'll see you again soon.
Thanks, Doug and Clyde. After a brief break, I'll be back to talk with Phil Taubert, manager of the Capitol Hill Library, about Hispanic Heritage Month.
If you spend 15 minutes a day reading to a child, you're doing more than reading. You're building a bond that lasts a lifetime. Hi, I'm Penny McCaleb, Chairman of your Metropolitan Library Commission, and I urge you to read to your children. Not only will they learn to love reading, they will also become better students. Our children's librarians will be happy to help you select just the right book. The next time your child hands you a book, take the time to read. You'll both be glad you did.
Okay, Phil, Hispanic Heritage Month is actually straddles September and October, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. And the library has come up with some ways to celebrate all kinds of holidays at the same time. We're going to do Hispanic Month by having participation in a fiesta that they're having at the Latino Development Agency on October the 3rd. We're going to be there to give away bookmarks and other things that promote the Capitol Hill Library and just participate in that big fiesta that they'll be having that day. And also, we are in the middle of our Family Place Parent-Child workshops that has gone on between September and will end on October the 8th. And on Tuesday mornings, we have families that come into the library with their children. They get down on the floor and they play, and we have specialists there. Some of them are able to speak Spanish as well as English, and so they can communicate with the variety of families that we have. And they're able to give information about subjects like nutrition and nutrition.
Well, just general parenting. If it's your first child, you don't know if the kid is average
Exactly.
or behind or ahead or whatever.
Right, and just give some general guidelines on things that they may want to work together on to improve and help development of the child as they're growing up in the world.
Sounds great. Well, and when they're there, they can check out books in both English and Spanish because
Yes.
Capitol Hill has quite a nice collection.
We
doesn't it?
have a very nice collection. In fact, we have purchased recently some new materials that we are adding to our collection, and we're, as part of the month of October and part of the Hispanic celebration, we are going to have those books available for the customers to look through and check out as they would like, a variety of topics for all ages.
Now, you're giving away some books.
Correct.
Shortly.
As part of Customer Appreciation Month, again, we're going to have some books in Spanish as well as English, and maybe some calendars and other things that we're going to give away in the month of October to help show our community how much we appreciate them using the library for information and other things that we have to offer them.
Now, you've been telling me about something that's going to happen that's not actually part of Hispanic Heritage Month because it happens a little bit after the
Right.
end of that, but it's really sounds kind of exciting.
Well, we are also looking at the holiday of Halloween and Day of the Dead and all of those kinds of things, which all occur at the end of the month of October. So we're going to spend the month of October with some story times throughout the month for the children on Halloween, but also we are going to have some workshops that we're going to do on preparation for the holiday Day of the Dead. And we're going to invite some of the young adults in the community to come and help us to prepare the library for that holiday and explain that holiday with them and show how it differentiates from Halloween and from All Souls and All Saints Day, and all those different days come at the same time of the year. And we're going to try to see if we can get some explanations out there to the community as to how those different holidays differ.
So actually you could come to the library and also manage to celebrate Halloween, All Saints, and Day of the Dead.
And also see how much we appreciate them as customers of our library. Absolutely.
That's great. So now, do you have Spanish-speaking staff at the library?
We
then?
do. We have one at our reference desk, one at our circulation checkout counter, and we have a page also that helps with communicating as well. So, and a lot of our community is bilingual. They can speak both English and Spanish. So we work quite well with them, I think.
But if somebody came in and really needed the Spanish, they can get a library card and check out books in Spanish
Sure can.
as well.
Absolutely.
Sounds great. Well, it sounds like if you really want to find out more about the Hispanic influence on America, we need to head down to the Capitol Hill Library, right, Phil?
You bet. We can help you.
I want to thank you very much, Phil, for being with us. And to remind everybody that you can find out about these events and many more when you check out the library on www.metrolibrary.org. It tells you where all of the libraries are, what times they're open, and has a wonderful list of programs as well. It's giving you information on how to go about getting a library card. There are databases that you can access from there as well. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you again next time.